Assalamu alaikum. Your man Kojo coming to you live from Waldeck Street in Dorchester, so that can only mean one thing. It's story time. Now this story is gonna go way back to the summer of 1982. And I must honestly say, let me slow down because I almost have chills right now because I'm standing in front of the house that my family owned for many years, and it's where I grew up as a kid. When we moved to Dorchester from Roxbury, this is where we resided on Waldeck Street. We moved here in 1979. So this story takes place in the summer of maybe 1982. And as I looked at the house, I was pretty sad to see that they have asphalted over the grass because we had a beautiful grassy yard. And my next door neighbor, they had a beautiful grassy yard. And now there's a fence that separates the two homes. And I know they say good fences make good neighbors, but that wasn't the case back in 1982. Now back in 1982, this is when kids played. And subhanAllah, we had a large backyard. My next door neighbor, David, as his mother called him Davy, they had a large backyard. So that meant only one thing for kids from Boston, baseball. So it was no problem for us to gather 18 to 20 or even more kids to come to our yards and play a game of baseball. And these were intense games. You hear the train? Yeah, these games were intense. There was a lot of action. The only thing that slowed down the play is if someone hit a foul ball, you guessed it, over into the train tracks. Then the expedition of us kids would have to climb the fence, get cut on the barbed wire to retrieve the ball. So we figured out a solution for that as we cut the fence. You know, I'm sure the statute of limitations for any wrongdoing has expired. We cut a hole in the fence so anytime someone hit a foul ball into the train tracks, we can easily cut through the fence and retrieve the ball. So like I said, these were amazing games, you know. We would always mix up the teams and, you know, sometimes this team would win, sometimes that team would win. But that all changed one day when a new player came and said, can I play? So we said, sure, as we were picking teams. So this player, you know, I have to admit, when they lined up at bat, I was a little embarrassed for them because instead of the stances that we took, you know, we were trying to emulate great players on the Red Sox like Jim Rice or the new player who just came to the team, Wade Boggs. So we had the stance down. This player awkwardly stood holding the bat in one hand down by their side. And I was just like, oh, embarrassing. What is this? Until the pitcher threw the ball, the player raised the bat and crack, home run. So I was just like, what? I mean, is this a fluke? Next time they came with the bat, same thing, same thing, same thing. So this player took on the nickname as the one-armed slugger. And it was just like intense when we were picking teams because if you were captain, you automatically said, I'm not going to say the name because, you know, in my stories, I don't say the people's names, but I got the one-armed slugger. So, I mean, this was, you know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but nine times out of 10, whatever team the one-armed slugger was on, that team won. So one time I was very sad because I was on the opposing team of the one-armed slugger and I was the pitcher. So I'm trying to give my best. Fastball, crack out the park. Curveball, crack out the park. I even tried the Looney Tunes slow ball, which, you know, it didn't even make it to the plate, but then I perfected it, threw it up there, got to the bat of the one-armed slugger, crack out the park. I mean, embarrassing. I mean, we played full-fledged games, 9 innings, and we got creamed that game. You know, the inning, I mean, it was just bad. But I have to say, I really admired the one-armed slugger. And actually, weirdly enough, I love the one-armed slugger. And let me tell you why. Because after a hard-fought game of baseball, even that day that I lost, I would go in my house, I would go upstairs, I'd take a bath, and I'd come down to dinner, and there'd be a hot dinner on the table prepared by the one-armed slugger. That's right. The one-armed slugger was no other than Kojo's mom. I got Kojo's mom. I got Kojo's mom. I got Kojo's mom. Kojo's mom, mashallah, is and will always be remembered as the one-armed slugger. And I hope you enjoyed this story. Story time. Assalamu alaikum, your man Kojo here. I have to make a correction to my story as I'm visiting with my mother, you know, in the hospital. Keep her in your dua. She corrected me. It wasn't the one-armed slugger. It was the one-armed bomber. MashaAllah. Even more scary. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.